As I went through the passages today, the Psalm, and the gorgeous Old Testament recount of Abraham and God's message to him, I couldn't help but to be pulled into the meaning of faith in our lives and in discipleship and what it means to be a Christian on this corner of the world, and what it really truly means to revitalize something, whether it's a church, whether it's your own spirit. And so I came up with the title first, mainly because Kathy needed it to put it in the drum beat. But the title kept coming back, and that was Ready or Not, Here I Come. The summer weather has reminded me of times growing up in, actually it was La Sierra, during my childhood when we were in the foothills before all the malls and everything that has reclaimed that territory around there. And we had a hill behind us, and I was very fortunate to live on probably an acre of land. And my brother, who was 11 months younger than I was, Sid, and I used to play continually hide and go seek during the summer evenings. He was so good at it. He could find places to hide that I would never even think of. And I can remember that my part was to lean against the elm tree and say, count all the way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Ready or not, here I come. And then I'd have to start looking. And I looked, and I'd look, and I'd look. And finally, he would, generally I wouldn't find him until he was exhausted and he was through with it. He'd go, here I am, gosh, come and get me. So I got to thinking about that, and I got to thinking about what we're talking about, or what the Lord is talking about in today's scriptures from the lectionary. And I thought, there are times when we are lost. We're very lost, whether it's in our personal life, whether it's within our spiritual life. And we feel like we're behind somewhere, and we're waiting, and we're saying, here I am. Where are you, Lord? Ready or not, please. And then sometimes in that moment, you'll hear that voice, and it's, here I come, whether you're ready or not. And so I would like to share with you this blog, this message that was on Facebook. Unfortunately, when I transferred the blog from Facebook to my computer, I lost who the author was, but I don't think that's really that important since a blog is put out there for the publication to everyone. But it is from CalPAC, and there is a website if you would like to review it more. You can see me after church about the website or the address, or I will try to get it published on our website, our church website. And it was titled, The Attitudes and Behaviors That Help Churches Become More Vital Today. And that is the second piece of it. There were 6 parts, and I am not going to go through 6 parts. And I am going backwards with this, starting with 2. So here we go. Number 2 was, we have to be disciples who have active faith practices. Now, what I'm reading is what the author wrote, and it's in the first person, so please, I did not write this. What are the faith practices of the leaders in our congregation? A church's vitality is rooted in the vital faith of its leaders. Without this, we have little to offer the world. This is a tough one for us to come face to face with, as it calls us to look at our own walk of faith and honestly assess how we need to change. But this isn't a time for shame, but honesty and the recommitment to our own faith. God loves us, and our daily walk with God changes everything about life. We are the church. We are followers of Jesus. And that means that we not only believe differently, we live differently. Prayer, worship, communing, sharing our faith, and other practices are the foundation from which our churches become more vital. Vitalization happens when we come from our own faith in Christ and the desire to increase his kingdom, thinking we need our church to be more vital in order to save the church, bring in more money, and find more workers to fill committees does not make a church more vital. And while we may have spots to fill in the lay leadership report, many of us know what happens when a church is run by folks who have little grounding in the way of Jesus and who see the church like a secular business. That hit home in so many ways. In my personal life as a lay leader, in my committee work with the church, in my walk of faith, and even learning to understand what is faith. So there's a question each day on this blog, and this question was, what are your practices? Commit to them and invite others to join you. I'm still working on that piece. It's kind of hard to figure what you're going to commit to. As a leader, am I going to commit to be able to save what I need to go to a leadership conference? But that doesn't invite others. I've invited others to join me, but that's not the whole, well, we have invited the whole church, but still, it goes beyond that. Is it your faith walk? Is it the ability for me personally to quit worrying about everything? So I am really trying to find that piece that says you're moving towards faith. You'll never be able to describe it. You'll never be able to give one a message or write about what it is. You have to share your story. So I'm practicing that. Maybe that's something you could join me with, practicing your own story. Why are you here? Why are you at this church right now when you could be somewhere else where they have an orchestra? Maybe where it's even a smaller, more intimate. Why aren't you at home with a home study group that people are doing now, a new kind of worship? It's interesting to kind of think about it. And I wanted to talk, too, about some of the practices of the leaders in your church. In a congregation this small, we have to accept the fact that we're all leaders. We all either serve on a committee, we are in a committee, we are part of this church, we are the thread of the cloth. We are it. We are the leaders of this church. So there's something called the Administrative Council, and the Administrative Council takes representatives. It's combined of representatives that represent the people in the church. Everyone is invited to attend that. If you would like to come to an ad council meeting, they're usually on the 4th Sunday, or Thursday, right? 4th or 3rd? 4th, you got it, okay. I also am going to commit to using my calendar better. But this is who we are, and this is the structure that we decide what's going to happen in the church or what we're going to bring to the congregation. What it looks like today, it's a group of about 10 people, and we really are struggling to find our place right now, but we're doing it. These are some of the things that we struggle with. We struggle about communication within the church. We don't have that many people, and I tell you what, the communication among ourselves is painfully lacking. So we're working on it. We're coming to the grips that, yes, this is an immediate problem, and it has to be addressed. So we're working on that. We also are looking at how we can make good use of this facility. What are we going to do? How are we going to use the funds of this community so that it best is addressed for the needs that we have within the community, within the church? What are we celebrating? We're celebrating the fact that we're all here together. We're celebrating that we have not closed our doors. We're celebrating that we do have a pastor, even if it's half-time. We do have a pastor. Some churches don't. We are not being closed. I don't know if you've heard, but Musco United Methodist Church is going to be closed this year. And so they are going to all be looking for new church homes, and we are inviting them to come and join us. We celebrate the fact that we have a beautiful music ministry with Marianne leading it. We celebrate the fact that we have active men's groups, UMW groups, that we have someone who cherishes working with the young adults, that we have families that quietly do what needs to be done at a moment's notice. Planning, we're nailing that one down too. We have a tendency, we have found, together as an ad council, to plan month to month. And we have really not looked at the vision of 10 to 15 years. What are we going to do then? What are we planning for the future? So the immediate future projects that really need help are the fireworks booth, which gives us a great amount, hopefully this year, or at least an amount that we can use for our benevolences and to use as we need it here. We have the Friday nights in July that will lead up to the carnival that Sandy Brenza is heading. And we are also working to connect with the community through other United Methodist churches and through our own work. Second, we need to believe we are the people God has called and will equip us to bring change to the church. Again from the blog, church vitalization takes the congregation and the pastor. It takes a critical mass of people pulling in the same direction. This is something we do together. God has brought us this far, and God will walk with us as we move forward as a church. So this was the question for that day. Look ahead 10 to 15 years. If nothing really changed, where would your church find itself? If nothing changes in 10 to 15 years, look at our church. Look at who's here today. If nothing changes within the next 1 year, what's going to happen to our church? 2 years, where's it going to be? Now, imagine what your church could be in 10 to 15 years if you risked. Okay? And ask, what might God be calling our church to be? Well, I thought about that, and here's what I came up with. What do we want the church to be? Well, I want it to be here on this corner. I want it to be a family for my family. I want it to be a place where Corey Jr. and Emma Grace can come home to, if not physically, at least spiritually. And I want to be old and cantankerous here. I want to be like Emma Jean Knisley was. I want to hang out with my friends and reminisce about how it used to be in 2014 when we were all praying that we wouldn't close our doors while we prepare lunch in our community outreach building. I want to laugh about how we all sold fireworks in the heat of July to keep the doors open. And I want to gripe about having not enough parking spaces for our 3 Sunday services, and how the youth want the Saturday evening service to be held outdoors whenever possible to accommodate the crowds. And then it came to a screeching halt. Wait a minute, what's wrong with this picture? Did you catch it? Is this a test? It's not what I want. It's ask what God might be calling our church to be. That's all what I want it to be. There's where the risk comes in. Well, here's the first part of that revitalization blog. There is no doubt that many churches are in need of vitalization. Some need more akin to a tune-up, while other churches need a down-to-the-studs overhaul. But what stops us from seeing church become more vital? What keeps churches stuck? As we get ready to launch their conference Vitalization program. And it's a conference, I believe it's in the South, and it's called Readiness 360 Plus. I have been reflecting on the attitude and behavior of our church to move forward. Now, this is a church somewhere, I don't even know where it is, but does this sound familiar? We have to decide things need to change, and we are the people to do it. First, we have to decide that something needs to change. This means we have to believe that there is more for us and for our churches, and sadly, this is a big hurdle. I am startled to find churches with under 100 in worship. Must be the South. No adult baptisms, and little discipleship formation, satisfied with how things are. As I explored this with the church recently, it occurred to me that they had really lost sight of what a church could be. The bar is too low in too many churches. We have to get past this revitalization, and if we don't, there will be little urgence to make change. I think that this today fits so well with the scriptures. This has been a series of lessons from the gospel and from the Old Testament on what it takes to become a church. And in Matthew's gospel, after Jesus has been over and over giving his disciples lists and working with them and teaching them and showing them after having done miracles and being out there and saying, dust your feet off and leave if they're not going to accept you. All of the things that he said to them, it comes down to this passage. Whoever welcomes you welcomes me. Whoever welcomes me welcomes the one who sent me. Whoever welcomes a prophet in the name of a prophet will receive a prophet's reward. And whoever becomes a righteous person in the name of a righteous person will receive the reward of the righteous. And whoever gives even a cup of cold water to one of these little ones in the name of a disciple, truly, I tell you, none of these will lose their reward. Praise to you, Lord Christ.